New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you here. It's a beautiful day in Colorado, and I believe it's a beautiful day in Arizona, and that's where our guest for Real Conversations is coming from today. Let me introduce you to Reverend Dr. Michele Whittington, currently the Executive Director of the affiliated New Thought Network. Many of you know I have the great pleasure and honor of serving on their board, and Reverend Dr. Michele keeps us all in line at the board meetings. I'll just say, I'm not going to
say you're a bit of a challenge, Robert, but the rest of them are pretty easy.
She keeps us moving in the right direction. I'll say it that way. So welcome to Real Conversations. It's good to have you with us.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Yes. And we are going to talk today about your recent trip to India. However, before we do that, tell us a little bit, give us a little bit more background on what it is you do for the affiliated New Thought Network. And I know you've been involved with the organization for a long time. You were in leadership before stepping into the executive director role. So share a little bit with us about that as we get going here today.
So the Affiliated New Thought Network, or ANTN, as we like to call it, is a 32-year-old organization. I've probably been a member of it for 28 of those 32 years. So I've been around it for a very long time. It's a beautiful spiritual organization supporting people, organizations, etc., who live the New Thought philosophy. I'm assuming people watching your show, Robert, know what that term means.
Yes.
One of our roles is to help connect the broader New Thought community, because there's a number of different organizations, and we love to be the place where all are welcomed and all are served. So I was on the board of directors a couple of times, actually, served as vice president many years ago, and then was more recently on the board as the treasurer. And the board started talking about it might be time to hire an executive director. We had one for a little period of time years ago, but hadn't had one for years and years. And perhaps it's time, if we really want to take ourselves to that next level, whatever that next level actually means, we might need an executive director. And that just felt like something I would love to do. And so I threw my hat in the ring, and I was chosen to do that. It's been now right about 2 years, I believe. And who knows, it could be 3, because time flies when you're having fun. But, my job really is to do whatever is needed. What decisions the board makes, programs. I come up with programs. The board comes up with programs. But my job is helping us stay on track of what it is that we say we want to do. Let's make sure we do it. From membership services to growing the membership to making sure we're funded, because it takes money to run anything, to make sure we're funded, and really anything that needs to be done. I'm here to support that and sometimes drive it. Just depends on what it is. I'm either the driver of it or the supporter and the little nudger in the back of the okay, let's do this now. It's time to get on that.
Exactly. And my previous experience to ministry and business is we would call you the fire chief. However, What I love about, again, working with Anton is that you're not the fire chief. You're not there putting out the fires that have been started or left unattended. You're actually keeping and supporting the organization and staying conscious to what wants to be, to what's happening, to what's coming forward in the future. And I think that's a very important distinction. You're a vital part, in my perspective, of an evolving and enlightened organization. So, and I have these conversations with coaching clients and stuff where I can see they're running from one fire to the next, and you're lighting lamps more than you're putting out fires. Let's put it that. Oh, there we go. I like that one better.
That's very good. I'm about to use that, Robert. That's good.
There you go. So, and in your leadership within Anton, you were presented with a pretty neat opportunity, and it all kind of happened because of what I love how these stories evolve, how spirit collaborates to bring together all the pieces, because this past fall, the Affiliated New Thought Network brought Nemo Patel to the summer retreat, to the conference, and you two kind of struck up a little bit more of a friendship, I believe, there, and it all results in you getting an invitation to India. Tell us how that happens.
Yes. So yeah, you set it up perfectly. I had a pretty big role in that conference or retreat that we had. Nemo was on the program. We did work together a bit, to get him there, and so we got to know each other a bit more during the retreat itself. And then before he left, he said, "Come here, I want to talk to you about something." I'm like, okay. And he said every year, well, I don't know about every year, but for the last few years, he is affiliated with an organization called Service Space. Servicespace.org, I believe, is the website. And Service Space, it's based in India. It does a ton of things, but one of the things it does is has an annual retreat called the Gandhi 3.0 Leadership Retreat. So it's a leadership retreat based on Gandhian principles, and it is invitation only. So Nemo said, when he called me over, he said, I think you would be a good fit for this. If you have any interest at all, I'll have the leader of it send you an email with details, and then you can make a decision. So, I'm smart enough to say yes to something like that. Yes, details. And so that's how it started. So I'll just say this. I got the email, and to be completely honest and frank and real here, going to India has never been on my list of places I wanted to go. For me, it was scary and overwhelming and chaotic and sad. And I had all these perceptions. And it's pretty far away, it's kind of far away. I just that was not on my radar for places I want to go. So that was a big decision. Like, okay, I have this amazing opportunity. Do I really want to do this? So I sat with that invitation. I actually responded, said, as we ministers, so as we ministers sometimes like to say, let me pray on that, right?
I'll take that into prayer for a while.
Prayer for a while, right? And so that's what I said, but ultimately made the decision and said yes.
And wonderful. I love hearing that. I had not heard exactly how it all came together. So thanks for sharing that. Now, and Spirit, I had an experience recently where I was like, oh, Spirit, you trickster, you playful little thing, because sometimes we say yes, but then the appearances can sort of seem like there's actually a no actually happening. And it wasn't really, your experience wasn't really just as easy as saying, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to go to India. Tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges or the hurdles that found their way to you in getting there.
Well, yes, there was one big hurdle. Everything else, there are little things here and there. We resolved those quickly, like my air flights and all that. But the big hurdle was that in order to go to India, you need to have an Indian visa. Who knew you needed an Indian visa? I didn't know that, but you do. And I was in contact with Nemo and other folks from service space on how to do it and all. And they recommended that we apply for an e-visa, electronic visa. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'll apply for. The thing is, you could not apply for it until 1 month prior to your leaving date. They wouldn't even let you. They wouldn't let you do that. It was all online. You couldn't do it until 1 month before. So 1 month before, I filled out my application. It's an arduous, long application. They want to know, your history and your first. They want to know a lot. So I filled it all out, submitted it. I didn't think anything about it. It just didn't occur to me that it wouldn't just be bada ding, bada ding, approved. It took, days for that to process, and I get a ding ding on my phone in the middle of the night one night, because India is 12 and a half hours ahead of us. I didn't know anyone was on the half hour, but it is. So anyway, in the middle of the night, I hear it and I look and like, oh, it's the e-visa people. And I open the email and, applicant, my name, date, blah, 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 decision, rejected. Excuse me? No reason, just rejected.
Right.
And then it says, if you'd like, it said on the bottom, if you'd like to communicate about this, email us here, which I did, never heard back from that. So I reached out to my people that were working with me, and I told them what happened. And it looks like I might have checked a box as to why I was coming that I shouldn't have checked. So they're like, yeah, that could be the reason. Check a different box. Just check that you're a tourist. So do it again. So I filled it out again. Check tourist. The problem is that there's a question on it that says, have you ever been denied a visa?
And you checked yes.
And I had to check. I mean, I couldn't check no because it had just happened. And then I want to know why. And I can't tell them why because I don't know.
You didn't tell me why.
I don't know. So I sent it off again. And so I just want to say, as this is starting to unfold, I really did have a firm yes, I'm to do this prior to all this visa thing. I did prayer work. I did some really deep processing around it and got to the point where I knew that I couldn't not go, that it would be life-changing. I had, even if I'm scared, I don't want to, I'm a little nervous about traveling, halfway across the world by myself. I had to go. So I got that very full body yes.
Yes.
And as this visa thing is starting to unfold, I'm open. I really had this attitude of, well, I thought this was for me, but if it isn't, okay, it isn't. But I'm going to keep doing whatever my steps are that I can take. So that was my attitude. I'm open to whether I can go or not. I don't know. I thought it was a yes, but I don't know. And I'm going to do whatever I can do. So I submitted that second time, same organization, second time, had to say, yes, I've been rejected. And of course, boom, it being rejected again.
Yeah.
Rejected again. So now we are moving, because I was leaving on January 13th. So we're now approaching Christmas, right, with this.
Yep.
And so my advisors say, all right, we have to go a different route. We're not going this route again. We're going to have to go to the Indian consulate. There's one in San Francisco. You don't have to physically go, but you can fill out all the forms. Again, they wanted even more information and pay their fees, which was a lot more expensive than the other one, but that's okay. And mail everything in, including, Robert and friends watching this, including this document right here, which made me very nervous.
Yes.
To mail this away.
To a foreign country.
Well, no, it's to San Francisco.
But to the consulate.
To the Indian consulate in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Talk about trust, right? So,
yep.
So now I'm in the surrender. I'm in the taking my steps. And now I'm into, okay, I have to trust. I mean, I either don't do this and don't go, or I trust.
do this. And I want to interject real quickly before we get to the end of this story, folks, because I sit on the board. Dr. Michele is relying on spiritual principles and sending prayer requests to the board saying, hey, I know you're all behind me on this, but here's what's going on. And please pray that this second time goes through. And when she emails back and says, okay, well, that didn't happen. And we're all like, okay, well, we're going to keep praying then. And we know you've gone. So help us to share, wrap this piece of the story up.
Yep.
The visa comes back, but it comes back in a really unique way.
Yeah. So I fill out the paperwork. I mail this off. I'm told, I actually had to call and I talked to them, and I was told that it takes at least 15 days to make a decision. I sent this to them 10 days prior to leaving. 10 days prior to leaving, they tell me it takes a minimum of 15. Okay, we're going to do it anyway. They actually turned it around in 1 day. Miracle.
Wow.
Miracle.
Yes.
1 day they turned it around. And I got an email from them saying, we've put it back. We've processed your information and it's being returned to you. They didn't say if I got
nothing approved or rejected.
Yes, it's being returned to you. And so this envelope came in the mail the Monday before I'm to leave on a Saturday. And the only thing in the envelope was, oops, I just dropped it, was my passport. No note, no, yes, you got it. No, you didn't. Nothing. And it actually, I looked through this visa. I'm like, well, for my passport, I guess I don't see anything. So I guess I'm not going. So I was surrendered to, I'm not going. Okay, it's not mine to do. I sent the word out to a bunch of folks, including the Anton board. Well, I think I'm not supposed to go. And don't you know, one of my Indian friends, who again, 12 and a half hours difference, texted me about 6 hours later saying, have you looked inside the passport? Like seriously, page by page, looked inside. I went, well, no, I didn't do that. But when I did that,
there it is.
There it is. So yes, I can go to India now for the next 10 years, by the way. I have a 10-year visa now. So, you know,
sounds like Spirit wants you to go to wants you to be able to keep going back to India for some reason.
Apparently, after all that we went through to get that, I can use it now for 10 years.
Yes. I had I've been wanting to share with you. I was going through a very similar experience at the same time, because we left for Kenya on January 26th.
Yep.
And had been told, and we were actually told, okay, so sometime in early December, because they have a 2-month window, sometime in early December, go ahead and apply for the visa. And it's kind of an old system, and you got to go through a lot of questions and this and that and this and that and everything and da. Okay. And well, no, I didn't do that at the beginning of December. I put that off well after the holidays, and round about the 1st or the 2nd of January, I'm like, hey, I better do this thing. And went to the website, start doing it, pay for something, nothing happens. Try to go back the next day and nothing happens, and couldn't re-access. I could see my information and my answers were all there, but there was never any decision that happened. And this went on for like 4 or 5 days. And again, we're in the prayer work for you as well at this time. And I'm not really like freaking out. I'm just like, okay, we'll figure this out. And after about the 7th day, we come to realize that Kenya had changed their system on January 1st from a visa system, which I guess might have looked something like what you received, to an electronic travel.
Robert, we have lost you. And I want to hear, and so do your folks want to hear the rest of that story. But since I'm here, there he comes. Oh, there he is.
And I'm coming back.
Yay, there he is. Perfect.
Something's going on with my computer today.
It is.
My apologies. So Kenya had switched to an electronic travel authorization as of January 1st. And so everything we did on January 2nd in the old system never went anywhere. It all got lost. And then we went and applied through the new system, and my wife was like, well, you do yours first and see what happens. And it went through within like a day and a half. And suddenly it was like, and so at about the time, I think, when you were realizing, hey, I am going to India, was also about the time where I realized, hey, wow, I really am going to Africa.
Got it. We were tracking. Yeah, I felt for you as you were telling that, because I know what that feels like. Yeah. Well, but we both did it.
But we both did it. Exactly. You got a whole page. I just got a stamp that says, but you got a whole page.
I have a whole sticker. It's a sticker on a page. Yep.
So you arrive there, and now this isn't exactly a small group of people. This is a fairly good sized group of people that have been invited, and it's by invitation only. What's the experience like being in a group of leaders and I can't wait to hear kind of what some of the conversations were about.
Yeah. So yes, there were 40 leaders from around the world, as well as 35 volunteers, also from all around the world, who are also leaders. And often they were people who have been to one of these retreats before and wanted to come back and volunteer, or they're people who volunteer for the organization that was sponsoring it. So we had 75 people.
Wow.
Because the volunteers, even though they worked before and after our sessions, like dogs, actually, it was amazing their level of sacred service, which is a huge takeaway for me. We'll talk about more in a minute. Yeah. But they also attended all the sessions. So there were 75 of us or so in the things that we did.
Okay.
Yeah. So pretty spectacular conversations around the lunch table, dinner table, breakfast table, and then in the sessions. And it wasn't, we weren't there learning like leadership, the latest and greatest, leadership theory and all that. It wasn't that. It was digging into how Gandhi lived and did what he did, made the major social change that he did. And then different leaders from within the invitees came and they shared what they were doing.
Okay.
And then we did some beautiful sacred ceremony and, had evenings of so this was in Ahmedabad, India. I finally learned how to pronounce it properly. Which is where Gandhi's ashram is, where he spent years and years and years and years and years there. So, and we didn't stay at the Gandhi ashram, but we visited it and had an event one evening at the ashram, which was right. I mean, just a lot of this, there's not words for, Robert. I haven't even found the words yet to describe some of the things that occurred. Right. I'll do my best here, because you can't feel, you can't understand what I'm feeling if I don't put words to it. So I'll do my best to put words to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I can just imagine the vibration of sacredness, the vibration of truth that must be in that space. Pretty special stuff. So
yeah. One thing, and so speaking of the volunteers, they spent, it was told to us, none of them would have told us this, but the leader told us, I just want you guys to know that these volunteers gave 10,000 hours of service before you got here.
Wow. Okay. Just to be eligible to be in the...
No. Working on this event.
Oh, on just that event. Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
On this event, so every single day, there was a gift on our bed in our room. And I wanted to make sure you could, no, that side, you can see that tree of life. That's a weaving. It's a hand woven from an amazing organization called Craft Roots. That was one gift on the bed. Every day there were books, there was clothing on our bed.
Oh, wow.
Every single day.
Wow. Amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. And so much of what happened, Robert, yes, happened in the room where we were meeting and in the presentations, but a lot happened outside of the formal. And one of the most touching moments well, there were so many, but one touching moment for me, first of all, was to see the people who work, but I said, well, they do work, they get paid on the grounds of the place where we stayed, every single morning early out sweeping with handmade brooms, by the way, not aluminum and plastic, yeah, right. Handmade wood and palm fronds brooms, sweeping the area, the grass, the stones, to make sure it was pristine. It was pristine constantly. And one morning we were gathering outside of our room to go in, and there's some dogs. There's dogs around, stray dogs. I love dogs. So this one dog was kind of in the middle of some of us, and we were like, oh, dog. And one of the men who was sweeping, an Indian who did not speak English, said something to the dog, and he didn't hurt it at all, but he just kind of took his broom and made the dog go away. And we're all like, oh no, be nice to the dog. And one of the women standing there said, no, wait, no, you don't know. She said, he didn't do anything harmful to that dog. He just told the dog that you can't be here, go away. She said, I want you to know that man who's been working here for decades and does not make very much money takes 80% of his income to feed the dogs.
The dogs. Right. That's his dog.
That was his dog, right?
That was his dog, yeah.
80% of his meager earnings goes to feed stray, and they really are just stray dogs, but who have taken up residence there and around, outside. I mean, that's the level of care and love and service that I witnessed. Yeah.
It seems to me already that there is, and I experienced this in my trip to Africa, that the commitment, it's easy, those words don't even really explain the givingness, the service, the way people look at this of giving service. It's not an obligation. It seems like the greatest honor to be in that place of giving, of being of service, in an experience like this, and in all of life, it seems, in every aspect of their lives.
Yes. One of the jokes around was that what's the reward for giving service? What's the reward for giving service? More service.
More service.
Yep. Yeah. So that was a huge takeaway for me of, I think I have a heart of service. I've lived my life that way, and experiencing what I experienced there, and the leaders of that were there, the level of service that they're engaged in. Wow. I realized I could step up how I serve. And that's one of my big takeaways that I've come back with, is to how can I serve in even greater ways? We've lost Robert again. Oh, but he's coming back. There he is. Yay.
I have no clue what's going on.
Your computer is not happy today, Robert.
My computer is not happy today. I am rapidly trying to turn off everything that might be interfering with our conversation. But I'm also catching a lot of it. So thank you for sharing a whole bunch of this, and I want to learn more. So what was maybe like the most enlightening, or like the biggest aha moment maybe you took away from a conversation or a session?
Yeah. So, okay, because there's so many, I have to just filter through and I'll tell you this one. So we had a lot of conversation about a concept that was entitled deep cast, versus broadcast.
Yeah.
Deep cast meaning going within, deeply, deeply within, to make sure that we are clean and pure here, versus, let's just say serving and then, desiring accolades, or to, show that I'm doing this, or it's all ego, from ego, right? So
Okay.
broadcast is from ego, deep cast is clearing out that ego need. So we learned the story of Gandhi, which is not, I mean, if you know Gandhi, you've read his history, you'll know this, but otherwise you might not. So he spent many years in South Africa before he led India to freedom from Britain. And he did a lot of work in South Africa for Indians who lived there and for their rights. The government in India was watching what he was doing. It was like, get back here and free us, help us. So he finally did come back to India. And they said to him, okay, now you're here, free us. And he said, I'm not ready. And they're like, what do you mean you're not ready? I'm not pure enough. In other words, he hadn't gone deep enough, right? He hadn't deep casted enough. He said, I have to be more ready. And they went, well, okay, take your 10 minutes, go ahead and get ready. Gandhi and 78, I believe it was 78 men went to this little house in Ahmedabad, which now is part of the Gandhi ashram. And they stayed in this place for 15 years, preparing themselves internally to be able to lead from a pure place of love, to lead India to freedom.
Yeah. That's a level of commitment to a vision that I think is rarely seen on the planet.
Yes. Well said. Yes. 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 And one of the things that he did was he sat at a spinning wheel. So a lot of places in India that have an image of him, a bust of him, or a picture of him, a painting, there'll be a spinning wheel in front of it, because part of his spiritual practice, well, it was actually twofold. It was spiritual practice, and it was also for economic reasons. He wanted to teach India that they could spin their own thread, because they had to buy fabric from Britain.
Right.
And he said, no, we don't have to buy fabric from Britain. We can spin our own thread, make our own fabric. So it was a economic, social movement, but also it was part of his meditative process. And I know they told us that, the powers that be would come and say, what are you doing sitting in front of a spinning wheel? We need you out there freeing us. He's like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'm not ready. So that idea, okay, I'm not committed to the level, Robert, of spending 15 years, in an ashram, but it took me to a whole new level of commitment of the deep, deep inner work.
Right. And being, we're really no good in a human world, and in today's society, with the speed and the way things have advanced in speed from those days to now, we do no earthly good if we're not grounded in that deep inner knowing of ourselves. And if it took Gandhi 15 years, he had a mighty big job to do too.
Yes,
so your job out, folks, if you're listening, your job might not be that big to do in the world. Might not take 15 years of meditation to get prepared. But use your meditation, use your spiritual practices to be prepared to meet the day and to meet the challenges of your calling, of who you're out there to be.
And with pure, that was the key word there, pure love, because that's what Gandhi did. He said, I am opposed, and he did use that word. I know we don't really like that word very much in New Thought, but this is what he said: I oppose England, I oppose your actions, but you person, I love you, and I will never do anything to harm you.
Mm.
And, they talk about Gandhi leading a nonviolent movement, but it's so much more than nonviolent. It's that nonviolent does not say what he did. He did it. He opposed with love. With love.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you do that? That might take 15 years of contemplation to do that. Right? Right?
Exactly.
I mean, Jesus said, love your enemy, but wow, that's an easy thing to say and not so easy to do. He did it.
True. Yeah. Yes. And it all begins with loving ourselves too, correct? We have to be in that place of coming to love ourselves in order to love all that is out there. That's a real, I think that's perhaps why the New Thought movement so aligns with Gandhi and Gandhi's message, is because it is truly a message of oneness. And you cannot possibly love another if you're still treating them as someone other than the one. And that's what part of what I love about life is, we get to practice that day by day by day by day. And any time, I mean, I can only imagine some of the challenge, the day-to-day challenges of an experience like this, not just from the visa, but the travel and getting into country, and the time changes and all the various parts and pieces that come out of something like this. I know people told me, "Oh, you'll be transformed. No matter what you think is going to happen, you will be transformed by this experience." So I guess I'd love to hear, what would you call your biggest transformation of the whole trip?
Oh, wow. I'm really sorry you asked me that, because it's not easy. It's not easy to talk about, but I will. My biggest transformation was that here I am with people from around the world who are doing big things in the world. I mean, big things in the world. And my ego had a fit, because, well, it was like, well, who are you? What are you doing, Michele? You're in your little world, you serve in your little way. But my ego just got really out of joint. And I always felt like I was not critical of myself, that I had a lot of self-love. I've always felt that, oh, this showed me, yeah, maybe you don't have as much as you think. Because I was like, I don't belong here. I have no business being here. I don't know why Nemo invited me. I had about a day and a half of that. And it was hard. It was really hard. And then I had to have a prayerful conversation with myself. And I'm not sure I'm being heard, so I'll just keep talking in case I am.
You are.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I was able to shift. I was able to have a shift, a softening of the comparison to others, and the judging self, not being blah, all that human nonsense that I am sure everyone listening here can relate to at some level, right? But that was a big takeaway for me, personally, like in my soul. And then the other ones were the level of service that I want to amp up my level of service, my level of philanthropy. I mean, that's a big word, and I'm not in the category of a philanthropist, but my ability to actually give financially, because a man who gives 80% of his meager earnings to feed dogs, oh my gosh, that touched me beyond words. So those were some.
Beautiful. Thank you. It sounds like you would do it again.
I would. Yeah, I would. And I people have said, well, will you go back and volunteer? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm ready for the level of work that those volunteers took on. At this point in my life, I don't know. I don't know about that. But we're some of us are staying in touch, so we'll see what happens.
Well, good. this is going to sound like a strange question, but I'm going to ask it. Could the experience, and I'm thinking less of the travel and less of being in a foreign country, could the experience be recreated in other places? Or did it feel like it was central to the location, to the grounds that Gandhi walked on, to the places where his legacy actually changed? Or do you think it's something like, could that same group of people reconvene in Geneva or Johannesburg or New York City or Beijing? I know it sounds like a kind of a crazy question, but
well, I mean, there was definitely the energy, the sacredness of where we were, and to be in Ahmedabad. I mean, even in another city in India, but to be in Ahmedabad where Gandhi lived, that can't be repeated anyplace else, right? But the conversations that happened, the the connections that happened, yeah, that can happen anywhere. Right? That can happen anywhere. But there was something very special about having it there.
Something special. Yeah.
Very special about having it there.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking time today and coming on and sharing a whole bunch about your experience. My last real question for you is there anything that I didn't ask that you were hoping I would?
So there is so much more I could tell you about this, but maybe I'll just so I'll give a little plug to we're going to be having the last Thursday of March, and I don't know what that date is, but the last Thursday morning of March, the affiliated New Thought Network has a 1-hour episode on Zoom called Thought Leader Thursday.
Right.
And I'm going to be presenting my India experience on that with slides and everything. So you're going to get to see some pictures. I promise to tell more stories. I probably will tell the 15-year story again, but there's so much more to be told. So if anyone is interested in hearing more about this and more of the transformation, join us there.
Yes. That's March 28th, Thursday, March 28th. And you can sign up for that, register for that. It's a free opportunities, free webinar. You can register for that at the Anton website, antn.org. It's such an easy website to remember. I love it. Finally an easy one to remember. So
exactly.
Beautiful. All right, Dr. Michele, thank you again so much for being here. I tell you, every time I want you to know that I am so blessed to be a part of the leadership team with Anton at this point, because every time I look to you, I am inspired. Every story you share with us, your leadership is exemplary, and we all know that New Thought is like herding a bunch of cats. So you're an A-class cat herder in my book, and I want to thank you for being with us today. I hope we'll have a chance to have more conversations like this in the future.
My pleasure. I hope so too. Thank you, Robert.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's all we've got time for today. Until next time, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
Bye.